When he was arrested late last night in his apartment in Yonkers, New York, he told the officers, "Okay, you've got me."
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 dramatic times that serial killers knew the game was up.
He sees that and he panics. Walked out of there real quick.
Ted Bundy.
3 days later, on February the 15th, 1978, an alert Pensacola police officer stopped America's most notorious serial killer near the Alabama state line for driving suspiciously.
On February 9th, 1978, Ted Bundy murdered his final victim, Kimberly Leach. Following her murder, Bundy grew paranoid and began thinking that the police were closing in on him. He was right. At 1 a.m. on the morning of February 15th, Bundy was pulled over by Pensacola police officer David Lee.
He just had a gut feeling that something might be wrong. And of course, it came out over his radio after he called it in that the vehicle had been stolen.
Lee informed Bundy that his Volkswagen Beetle was reported stolen, and it was then that Bundy knew he was done for. The killer kicked Lee and knocked him to the ground before fleeing, but Lee was faster and successfully ran him down. Following a brief skirmish over Lee's gun, the police officer handcuffed Bundy and took him to jail, prompting Bundy to calmly proclaim, quote, "I wish you had killed me."
After a brief struggle in which the officer was forced to fire a warning shot, Bundy was arrested. He was taken to the Leon County Jail in Tallahassee, Florida.
John Getreu.
In the South Bay, a major break in a decades-old cold case. This evening, a 74-year-old man is behind bars on suspicion of murdering a Stanford student 45 years ago.
Genetic genealogy is responsible for catching numerous serial killers, including John Getreu. Getreu was convicted of killing 3 people, one in West Germany in 1963, and 2 more in the United States in the early 70s. The 2 American murders remained unsolved for decades, until genetic genealogy sourced them to Getreu.
We know he committed 1 murder. We believe that he committed this murder. We believe that there are others that may be similar. So, in my mind, I think he may very well be a serial killer, but we still have a lot of investigation to do.
On November 20th, 2018, an undercover police officer knocked on Getreu's door, telling him that she had hit his car and that he should come take a look. He was handcuffed immediately after stepping outside. While Getreu played dumb, he almost certainly knew that his past had finally caught up to him. He was then taken to the police station and informed that he was under arrest for the murder of 21-year-old Leslie Perlov.
Grace, in all of your years of reporting this story, you have long been convinced that Getreu was responsible for other killings as well, but we may never know with his death.
And that is incredibly vexing.
Ed Kemper.
I found myself doing things in an attempt to make things fit together inside. I was doing sexual probings and things. I mean, in the sense of striking out and reaching out and grabbing and pulling to me, but appalled at the sense that it wasn't working. That isn't the way it's supposed to be. It isn't the way I want it. See what I'm saying?
It was easy for Ed Kemper to know when he was caught, as he was the one who facilitated it. After committing the famous co-ed murders of the 1970s, Kemper killed his mother Clarnell Strandberg and Strandberg's best friend Sarah Hallett.
I asked her how her evening went. She just looked at me. She said, for 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son. So I got a claw hammer and I beat her to death.
He then drove to Colorado and called the police from a phone booth, confessing to the 2 murders. Funnily enough, the police thought it was a prank call and didn't take him seriously. He called back a few hours later and confessed again. This time, they sent out some officers, and when they arrived, Kemper also confessed to the co-ed murders. When asked why he turned himself in, Kemper called murder, quote, a pure waste of time, and that he, quote, couldn't handle it much longer.
He said that he had killed his mother and a friend of hers. He said that they were at his house.
John Christie.
Christie was arrested really by chance, early one morning, a foggy morning.
The policeman spots him on Putney Bridge and asks him to take off his hat, and there's the bald dome and the glinting spectacles, and he is arrested.
One of England's most notorious murderers, John Christie killed at least 8 people and stashed their bodies in various locations around his Notting Hill flat. When Christie moved out, he left the bodies behind, and they were quickly found by a new tenant.
March 1953. John Christie is wandering aimlessly around London. The bodies he's hidden at number 10 Rillington Place have been discovered by the new tenants. And now he's the most wanted man in the country.
On the morning of March 31st, 1953, Christie was walking near Putney Bridge in London when police constable Thomas Ledger approached. Ledger recognized Christie from the many wanted posters around the city and asked for his name. Christie, seemingly knowing that he was finally caught, responded simply, quote, "I'm Christie." It was a surprisingly quiet, almost anticlimactic end to a massive manhunt. The most wanted man in Britain, caught by a single constable on a riverside bench and walked to the local precinct.
You're Christie. John Reginald Christie. I shall have to take you into custody. Come along.
Israel Keyes.
He was very meticulous, he was very organized, he definitely planned everything that he did.
Killer of at least 3 people, Israel Keyes came to the police's attention after murdering 18-year-old Samantha Koenig in Alaska. Shortly after murdering Koenig, Keyes had requested ransom money for her safe return, and this money was deposited in Koenig's personal bank account. Keyes then used her card to withdraw cash at various ATMs, allowing police to track him.
I'm 2 different people, basically.
How long have you been 2 different people?
Long time. 14 years.
After IDing Keyes' vehicle through ATM security footage, police searched his car and found both Koenig's bank card and cell phone inside. Keyes knew that he was caught but attempted a lie, claiming that someone must have tossed them through the car's open window. However, Keyes later made a full confession, knowing full well the police were not buying it.
We did spend a fair amount of time talking about his crimes and his offenses as well, and those times were definitely very chilling to hear him talk about what he's done.
BTK.
The unmarked car with the lights in the grill came up behind him and put on their lights and stopped him right in this area here. And that's when Ray Lundeen from the KBI and Dana Gouge came up and made the arrest.
On the afternoon of February 25, 2005, Kansas man Dennis Rader was arrested near his home. When the arresting officer asked Rader if he knew why he was being arrested, Rader simply replied, quote, "Oh, I have suspicions why." The why goes back decades, when Rader was known as BTK, a serial killer who murdered at least 10 people between 1974 and 1991.
Anyway, you can get out the DNA, right?
You can't get out your DNA unless you've had a total blood transfer and lost every organ. It's there.
He knew that DNA was, he had studied enough that he knew that was going to be it.
Rader was taken to the police station and interrogated, where officers informed him that his DNA had been linked to a BTK crime scene. If that wasn't all, Rader had also sent an anonymous floppy disk to Wichita's local Fox affiliate boasting of his crimes, and police perused the disk's metadata to see that it had been written by Rader. Game over.
And then the next thing we looked at was statistics, and it shows here that was last saved by Dennis. So somehow a Dennis who was affiliated with the church or the library was somehow involved with this document.
David Berkowitz.
This is the man police believe to be the son of Sam, the .44 caliber killer who has killed 6 and wounded 7 in a string of attacks over the last 13 months.
Known primarily as the son of Sam, David Berkowitz terrorized New York City in the mid-1970s, killing 6 people and wounding many more. But despite causing one of the biggest manhunts in the city's history, Berkowitz's arrest was a quiet affair with little drama.
In August of 1977, 24-year-old David Berkowitz admitted he was the son of Sam, a serial killer who had terrorized the streets of New York for a year.
The night he was caught, there was all sorts of celebrations. They were giving away drinks in all the bars.
Around 10 p.m. on the night of August 10th, 1977, Berkowitz had just left his Yonkers apartment and entered his car when he was approached by detectives John Filatico and William Gardella, both of whom pointed guns at Berkowitz. Like many killers on this list, Berkowitz did not panic during his moment of comeuppance. According to reports, he simply smiled as the men pointed their guns at him and coolly said, quote, "Well, you got me."
Berkowitz turned to Detective Filatico and said, "You got me." Filatico says to him, "Who do I have?" He says, "You have the son of Sam."
Richard Ramirez.
Ramirez knew he had been made. People are starting to turn around and look and point and talk. It's him. It's him.
Known as the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez murdered at least 15 people throughout California between 1984 and 85. When police identified Ramirez as the main suspect, they released a mugshot that dated back to an unrelated arrest for car theft. On August 31st, 1985, Ramirez saw his mugshot on the front page of a newspaper and quickly fled the scene in a panic, knowing that the police were now onto him.
He goes into a liquor store, and on the front page of every newspaper is his picture.
He then attempted to steal various vehicles, prompting a small group of people to chase, restrain, and even beat him. Police then approached the violent scene, and when they arrived, they found a severely battered Ramirez laying on the ground and took him into custody.
He was tired of running. He was really exhausted.
I just told him, stand up. He stood up. I handcuffed him. I put him in the police car in the back seat.
And takes him into custody.
John Wayne Gacy.
It was very obvious to us that the attorneys were absolutely scared to death, petrified. They're pacing up and down. They won't take their eyes off of Gacy. And that pretty much solidified the fact to us that he had confessed to his attorneys about at least a couple, 3 murders.
By late 1978, Gacy had already murdered dozens of people in Chicago, but police locked onto him after the disappearance of 15-year-old Robert Piest. Detectives put Gacy under constant surveillance, and officers followed him everywhere, often in plain sight. With that, Gacy knew that his downfall was imminent.
And we were feeding Gacy information that there's possibly looking to execute a second search warrant. He became more and more desperate. And the last day, it was about midnight or 1 in the morning, he contacted his attorneys and met his attorneys in their office in Park Ridge.
This pressure caused him to completely unravel. He slept little, drank heavily, and even invited the officers out in the hopes of charming them off his scent. On the evening of December 20th, finally at his wit's end, Gacy gave a rambling and drunken confession to his lawyer, claiming to have murdered over 30 people. He then said goodbye to various friends and acquaintances before formally confessing to the authorities. He was ultimately executed in 1994.
John Wayne Gacy, do you have any last words?
How about you all kiss my ass?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Jeffrey Dahmer.
You mind if we come in?
Yeah, sure.
On July 22, 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer intended to murder his 18th victim, 32-year-old Tracy Edwards. But Edwards fought off Dahmer and escaped his Milwaukee apartment, attracting the attention of police officers Robert Routh and Rolf Mueller. Edwards took them back to Dahmer's apartment, and the killer tried to play it cool.
What's that smell, Jeff?
Oh, I really like cooking pork chops, and family sent me a bunch of meat, but it all went bad.
However, Mueller found a series of Polaroid pictures depicting Dahmer's dead victims. Seeing that Mueller had his photos, Dahmer's heart dropped. He knew that he had finally been caught. He attempted to fight the officers, but was quickly overpowered and handcuffed, after which he uttered the words, quote, "For what I did, I should be dead." He did indeed die just 3 years later, when he was murdered in prison by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver.
You may convince yourself that God has forgiven you, but you can never escape God's wrath. It always catches up with you. Always.
Which story do you find the most interesting? Let us know in the comments below.
And I could even hear people saying, "Ese es el matón, the killer. Let's get him."